Hello everyone and welcome to Stefan's podcast, the podcast for everything Japanese news and what's going on in my little island here. Hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day, and we're going to jump straight into the news stories for you. So the first news story coming out of Japan is Japan are releasing brand new bank bills coming up in the next couple of weeks, so get ready to see these. And I have to say, the 1,000 yen is pretty cool. It's that beautiful tide picture that Japan has had for hundreds of years. Very, very cool, beautiful art, and looking forward to seeing them. But there are a lot of people that are not looking forward to seeing these banknotes, and one of them are small restaurants in Japan, because they all have a lot of machines that when you go up to pay, you pay via machines. A lot of the times you go into a restaurant, you put your money in and it gives you a ticket and then you give it to someone else. But the cost to change these machines over to accept the brand new banknotes is extortionately expensive. So for ramen shops to change one machine, most people are getting quoted prices between $1,000 and $3,000 to change these machines. Extraordinarily expensive, especially how most restaurants normally have 2, maybe 3 of these there. Some smaller restaurants, luckily, will just have 1, but that is still a lot of money for pretty much nothing, right? They don't do anything. It doesn't bring them in any more revenue, these new notes. It's just $1,000 down the drain for nothing. Very, very expensive and very, very painful. And it's also worth noting, of course, that if you're coming to Japan in the next week, 2 weeks or so, that they are going to change their currency. So maybe you don't want to go back with a load of yen for no reason. So change it back into dollars if you're going to come back. Even if you're planning to come back, because you don't want to come back with old notes to Japan. Just something to keep in mind. Next story coming up for you is, this story is crazy. So a woman has been arrested for riding a suitcase. That is right, a suitcase. I don't know if you've seen it, but they have these at sort of tech shops, tech conventions. You occasionally see people rocking around in them. They're electric scooters that come out of a suitcase and people can ride them. And a Chinese woman in Japan has been arrested for riding one on the pavement and not having a moped license, because in Japan, these are classed as mopeds under 50 cc's because they can reach the top old speed of 13 kilometers per hour, and police are saying that they're going to start cracking down on this. And I feel very sorry for this woman, who is going to be probably the first lady to get prosecuted from this. I would hope the Japanese government would just give her a warning and say, hey, you didn't know about this. This is brand new. We're just going to give you a warning. But next person, we're making it big story on the news that if you're caught with one of these, that's it. Such a shame. We had the similar problem in the UK with segways for a long, long time, that if you tried to ride one of the segways, you'd get a fine because they're classed as like a vehicle, but not a vehicle. They don't have brake lights. So it's a lot of hassle for people, especially those hoverboards. That was a thing as well. I think police were cracking down on those at one point. So that's a problem with these vehicles. Be careful if you go traveling around, especially bringing it to different countries where the laws are different. Such a shame, because these are very cool little bikes, and it means a lot of these are probably not going to get sold anymore. Real shame. I do wonder though, how do people get these through the weight limits and stuff? When I go traveling, I'm full on the weight limit, and I think I travel pretty light. I do have some camera equipment with me every now and again, but how do you also have enough space to carry the weight of a scooter around? Good for you. Your packing must be absolutely fantastic, because I tell you what, I cannot do it. I wonder how much these weigh. Crazy stuff, but good stuff for the Suitcase company. If you can fit all your clothes and have the room for a scooter, good job. Now another good job for you. This is a cool story. Japan recently are changing their rules around letting people come into the country on different visas. So it's getting easier for foreign people to come to Japan and work here, because they have a desperate population shortage and they need more workers. And the firm Aeon is spelled Aeon. Aeon? How do you pronounce that? A big firm, big companies. I've seen them all over Japan, especially on the mainland, wherever you go. And they are planning to hire 4,000 foreign workers by 2030 because it's got a lot easier for them to come here. Before, if you wanted to work in like a meat factory or something, it was relatively easy for you to come here if you were skilled doing this in another country. But now they're letting people come into supermarkets where food is being manufactured. So before it had to be like a dedicated meat factory, now you can go into supermarket restaurants and work there. And they're saying a lot of different Indonesian workers already employed here are planning to bring more people over, which is very good for Japan because they have a huge population shortage and they need work, and good for people to come over and see Japan because Japan is a very nice country most of the time. But speaking of bad things most of the time, if you read the news as much as I do when you're researching these stories, or if you're a little bit up to date on Japanese news, you may have heard over the last, I'd say 3-4 months, there have been a lot of bear attacks around, especially in the north of Japan. There's been many different bear attacks going on. And unfortunately, there was a bear attack this week and a woman was actually killed by the bear. So if you're in northern Japan, be very careful because these bear attacks are on the rise. Bears seem to be getting a little bit more comfortable going into towns than they used to be for whatever reason. So be careful. Luckily, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Kyushu doesn't have any bears. So you're safe in Kyushu. But if you go into anywhere sort of north of Tokyo, a lot of bears. Be very careful. Dangerous stuff. You want to avoid them. If you're going into the forest, make a lot of noise, and a lot of Japanese people bring a bell when they're wandering around so that they don't see them. And oddly enough, there's a couple of runs that I do on the island. We don't have bears, but we do have boars and a lot of deers. And if I'm running through the forest, I will occasionally sing to try and get these stuff away because, trust me, I've been very close to boars here and they're not fun over. They are quick, they are big, and they are dangerous. Be careful, be very careful. And also the deers are pretty harmless, but you know, I don't want to see them when I'm running around. I don't want to startle them. It's a recipe for disaster. No thank you. So next news story coming for you is, we'll do another sad one while we're getting on here. Mount Fuji. A lot of people planning to climb Mount Fuji. There is a specific season that you're meant to climb Mount Fuji, and it is just about to open now. It's going to be the most popular time to climb Mount Fuji, and it is noted that you should be very careful when you're climbing Mount Fuji, and also make sure you're prepared, you do all the right things, because 3 bodies have been found in the Mount Fuji crater over the last couple of days, and you do not want to be one of these statistics. So just be careful, because Mount Fuji is not as easy as I think people make it out to be. There is a saying, I believe, that a wise man climbs Mount Fuji once and a fool climbs Mount Fuji twice. I have this same philosophy with Mount Shiratake here in Toshima. This is our biggest mountain that you can climb. I believe it might not be, it's not the biggest, it's the biggest mountain that is accessible that you can climb. I believe there's one other mountain that is bigger, but it's inaccessible. There's no way to climb it. You'd have to go through the forest, and it's just impossible to do. But Mount Shiratake at the top, it is very dangerous. I didn't like doing it. I actually now would not recommend doing Mount Shiratake to anyone, because I think it is particularly dangerous, especially at the top. So there's this bit where you have to to get to the peak, there's a path which is on the mountain, and it's very thin, and there's a tree that's outgrowing. So you have to like hold onto the tree, try and scoot round, and then you have to climb up onto a rock face, which is pretty steep, and it's okay going up. It's when you come back down, you have to be very careful you don't slip and then just fall down into the mountain. So I've done it once, never again. Never again. I don't care who's inviting me, I shall say I've done that once. No thank you, that was enough for me. I will say the view from the top is spectacular, very beautiful. You see the island, you also see Korea. I think you can see Iki on a good day. I don't know if I remember, I'm pretty sure I did see Iki. So very beautiful, really beautiful stuff, but not for me. Did it once, never again. No, thank you. Okay. Now, if you've been following this show, there's been a lot of news stories about how tourists are ruining Japan. Japan are creating all these new laws. They're looking at charging tourists more. Basically, Japan being just a little bit unfriendly to tourists. And I read this news story and I went, oh, okay. I've seen this before here. There's a little joke on the island about this as well. So, rice price jumps at Japan's supermarkets amid heat. So there was a lot of heat, so a lot of their rice was damaged, and of course tourist boom. So they're saying now, because there's so many tourists in Japan, that the price of rice, the price of rice is skyrocketing through the year now. It's all because of the tourists, and it seems to be every single thing at the moment is going down to the tourists. If there's an issue in Japan, it's the tourists. Oh, it's the tourists. Why is this happening? Tourists. Why are the hospitals closed? Oh, tourists. There's a joke on the island here that they also put a lot of blame on the Koreans because so many Koreans come here. Like I've made a video about all the plastic pollution. So there's a lot of plastic pollution on the beaches here, and every time you see someone, they go, oh yeah, look at all this rubbish from Korea, and it will be 99% Japanese waste, it'll be fishing waste, thing like that. And you'll get 1% that's like a Korean bottle, and they'll go, yep, look at this, all this waste is from Korea. And it's like, really? Is it now? Is it now? And then let's say it's raining here. So we have a joke that, it's raining. Oh, look at all this Korean rain. Oh, this is why it's bad. Oh, this is all Korea's fault. And it's like, it's not, is it? It's not. These are 90% Japan problem, but they always like to get that little thing in going, this is the tourists' problem. Every issue is because of all the tourists coming here. It's the dang foreigners coming to my country. So next story coming up for you, which is a cool one and something that the tourists might want to see. Thomas the Tank Engine baby is in Japan. That's right, Thomas the Tank Engine is here. So they have now made a life-size Thomas the Tank Engine which pulls carriages in Japan, and you can get on it and go to different places. It is super cool. So Thomas the Tank Engine is back for another year. Apparently it came out in 2023, and the tourist attraction runs a distance of 17.7 kilometers, making it a 100-minute trip, really, a 1 hour 40-minute trip, and you can now get it. The train will operate for 105 days a year, mainly during summer vacations and on weekends, until December 25th. So if you want to get on there, you better jump on it. And the stations that it's operating from, excuse me, I'm going to absolutely butcher these names, is Shin Kanaya to Senzu. Not bad. I think that's pretty close to the actual name. Very good. So this was operating a few years ago, but there was a typhoon damage that stopped this train from operating, but it is back now running. So if you want to do that, if you have kids, if you're a fan of Thomas the Tank Engine like I was, you could have a very fun time in Japan. They've got some great pictures here of elementary kids getting on the train, and they look like they are having a blast of a time. So Thomas the Tank Engine baby is now open. But something that might not be open in Japan for much longer is, well, Japan itself, because there is a shortage in truck drivers, and they say that by the year 2030 there's going to be a 36% shortage in truck drivers. This is, of course, going to cause huge problems because everything Japan uses has to be brought in from somewhere, and if you know, people order things on Amazon now. Packages, food, everything has to come from a truck somewhere, so they have this shortfall. Likely, I imagine, how they're going to fix this? Well, you could probably start looking at getting more foreign workers in. This is what most people don't want to do, you start raising the salaries for truck drivers so more people want to be truck drivers. I will say, off a job that is very difficult, a truck driver in Japan, that is hard work. Because not only do they have to, drive the truck, unlike in the UK and a few other places, a lot of these truck drivers have to do a lot more manual labor, as in bringing the goods into the places. I was watching I think it was an NHK documentary on these truck drivers delivering beer, food and stuff to restaurants. So instead of them sort of basically just dropping it off at the door, in most of the cases here, they will be going in and almost not quite restocking everything, but they're putting it inside, they're putting it into the correct places for them, and they're setting other things up. They do a lot more work than truck drivers do in the UK. They just have a little bit extra care to detail. They have to carry a lot more things. So it's a very manual, it's a very manual job anyway, just driving around, very tiring, and very, your posture and back, it's difficult for you. But they do a lot more of carrying the stuff. So tough job. I would not want to be a trucker here. And not only that, just the roads are so narrow here. It's tight, everything's tight, getting stuff in. Difficult job, but good luck to the people who want to do that and do it. I worked for a bus company in the UK for a few years, and seeing how the drivers do that, they get through these tiny spaces. They are far better drivers than me. I could never, ever do that. I hate sometimes just reversing my car, so good luck to you. Good luck to the drivers out there. But I'm surprised we burnt through all the news stories today. That is our podcast for today. I will be back again on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I'll be back again on Tuesday for you. Have an absolutely fantastic rest of your week. Just to let you know, people who watch my channel, I am actually going on vacation to Tokyo in a couple of days to see my family. I've not seen them in almost 2 years, which is very nice. And I'm also moving house in that time. So videos could get disrupted. There might not be as many videos uploaded as normal. So just, get ready for that if you're a super fan. But thank you very much for watching. Nonetheless, have an absolutely fantastic rest of your week, and I will see you on Tuesday. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.